Good morning, people of the internet. This is just going to be a brief video. Yesterday I finished a couple of pages in a sketchbook, and I will be shifting to a different project. But I'd like to take a couple of moments to talk about this manga, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind by Hayao Miyazaki. Miyazaki, of course, is a gentleman who needs no introduction. I think most of us, or at least many of us, are familiar with his Ghibli films, and many of us have seen Nausicaa, of course. We are familiar with the tropes of his films, the flight, sort of the art design, especially for the heroines. And of course, Nausicaa is the princess in the Odyssey, whom Odysseus meets, I think, in book five or six. Anyway, I just wanted to take a moment to show you this. I started rereading this last night. I didn't get very far. But in contrast to the animal comics I showed you yesterday, there was a different pacing that we find in manga, at least in this type of manga. Here we have an establishing shot, and the art style tells us a little bit about what type of story this is going to be. It's going to be a fantastic story. It's going to be a bit of a storybook. You can tell that by the way it's drawn. I noticed there is not a lot of toning. There is on some pages, but in contrast we have a lot of cross-hatching, which gives this a very illustrative feel. Now, I don't know the details about what type of assistance Miyazaki might have had, and the complicated relationship between this manga and the film, which was eventually made, and I think the manga continued for a while, etc. That's not really the point I'm here to make. I'm just here to make. I just want to look at this artwork for a while, and one can actually see the cross-hatching here, and you can see the pen lines, and this to me is very reminiscent of almost a 19th century illustrative look. Think of the illustrations of Alice in Wonderland, for instance, or Punch Magazine, and of course manga itself. There are types of manga that carry the style. But for instance, we don't have huge areas of black and huge areas of white. We sort of have this in-between look created by the cross-hatching, which I find very interesting. Here you'll see some toning there. Now, another thing that's interesting is there is actually a lot of dialogue on here and a lot of panels, and especially for a lot of manga panels, modern, we may have 6 or 7 panels. We may not have that much dialogue. I'm not sure what materials Miyazaki used for this. Did he draw this on standard manga paper? Did he draw this on Bristol board? Maybe there was a different standard size back then. I really don't know. But this is a very different feel to some of the more modern type of things made. And of course we have a lot of sound effects. We tend to get a lot of sound effects in manga. We do in the West too, but it's a slightly different feeling. Of course, flight. The thin panels tell us about a brief moment of time, a little longer. The paneling in manga is very interesting. And then we have the dragon, the Shai Halud of Arrakis, which in this work is the Onmu. But it sort of has that same function in the fairy tale. And then of course we find the mentor figure, who has a cute animal for our maidenly princess figure, Nausicaa. Anyway, I just wanted to show you what I was reading last night, and here are the last 2 pages of this little interlude, I suppose. These are the pages I finished yesterday. So, the different kind of monster designs, kind of like ghosts, a little bit like skeletal claws, and the teddy bears fighting them off. The monsters came from under the bed, and they've sort of changed space around them, which is something that an advantage that the comic medium in general has, as opposed to film, where in film we are looking at the same space the whole time, but with comics we can physically change the space. In this case, a whole page is one moment, but it's not just one moment, because the eye is going to be in here and be attracted to these swirls, and so the eye is going to go take a journey this way, and that journey through time will, physical time of seeing, will be kind of read as story time. So we can imagine different creatures popping up and moving as the teddy bear fights them. And then the last page of this little interlude, where they get shoved back under the bed, and we leave off with the bear just kind of poking at the monster. And of course, this is comic space, so we don't always have to take it literally. Is the monster beside the bed? Is it under the bed? It doesn't really matter, because we're reading it this way, and we're kind of interpreting it in that fashion. So anyway, this will be it for black and white comics for a while. Now I'm in a transitional period, because I will be designing the rest of this sketch of this book. This is going to be a painted book, and I've started designing these pages. But I also have this notebook that I started a while ago, and then I've transitioned this into a monochrome story. This is an off-white paper, and with red ink. I think this gives it a very interesting kind of antique look. So I'll probably be doing some penciling in here also. So I'm not exactly sure what I'll have to show you tomorrow. Tomorrow may just be some rough pencil sketches. And anyway, that is it for now, and I'll talk to you later.